Hey, what's up guys? I'm doing game 3 of Team Liquid versus Phong Buffalo. Let's jump into it.
Where do you actually allocate both resources in draft and in game?
And luckily for us, as we don't have.
I expect very similar ban structures. They really just caused a lot of problems for TL, so they just decided to ban it out. But part of it was because of their draft. We're seeing Jarvan ban. We see Phong sticking with their draft strategy and pinching the support pool. I don't like that they're doing this, even though the last 2 games were winnable, so they're just keeping with their strategy. But it shows very little draft flexibility from them. Ban out the Jace. Fully expect Ryze to be picked up here, but you never know with TL. Derek could be looking for the Derek Sona combo. With the Hecarim. That could be a play that they want to make. They end up going for the Varus, which is a pretty decent answer to the Sona combo. So that's more why I think they would want to take it. But they just decide to deny it by picking the Sona themselves, which is fine. I don't really like it. Even though you're denying Sona Taric, it's still not a very strong lane. Sona is alone. And TL ends up picking up Tristana. So Team Liquid looking to go a very different direction with this draft. End up picking up the Sylas. So this comp is definitely going to outscale Phong Buffalo. Because of that, I would like to see maybe Hecarim game picked up. But it's actually the ryze, which is a good pickup for sure. Maybe not for Buffalo, just because they've shown in not being too comfortable playing the split push, and the coordination seems a little off, which you can't really have that with ryze. So, interesting pickup. We see a lot of what I would call draft mistakes from Team Liquid, but it doesn't really get punished all too much. They ban out the Lee Sin. Expect more junglers to get banned out here. I expect to see a Hecarim ban from Team Liquid. Phong Buffalo has shown to not really play Akali. And even if they did play Akali, their draft doesn't really like Akali all too much. They pick up the Rek'Sai, or they're hovering it. They end up picking it, which is good. The problem is here. Actually, I kind of like the pick. They don't outscale, they kind of need to control the early. Enable the ryze a little bit. I think it's a good pickup. And then we see the Hecarim on the side of Team Liquid. We're going to see real soon whether it goes towards the jungle or top. It's looking like it's jungle. I'd expect xmithie to perform much better on something like Hecarim. It's a little easier. It's not too big of a problem. Jungle pitching, I'm not a big fan of that considering they're just banning out the tanks. And they end up going kennen. I don't really like this draft from Phong Buffalo. The problem is Akali kind of eats this comp. And I'm not sure if the kennen beats the Sylas hard enough. Kennen is also not very good in the team fight against Taric. They have a lot of AoE for the team fights, but it's just not. It doesn't look like it's enough. I would expect Team Liquid to win this game very hard, unless unless the Rek'Sai really gets rolling. But he shouldn't. The jungle matchup is fairly even. But Phong Buffalo is looking like they're banning more towards banning out TL's comfort instead of banning out stuff that's strong in the meta. Because these aren't normal bans you would normally see. They could have definitely taken the Kali off the table, taken the Hecarim off the table, which I would have expected them to do, especially if they're going to go for that Rek'Sai pick. The idea might have been for Team Liquid, if they banned the Hecarim, then they would just ban the Rek'Sai themselves, instead of going for that. What did they ban? Instead of going for the LeBlanc ban. But I don't even think LeBlanc is an issue in these games. It doesn't really go too much with their composition. It's going to be very, very split push intensive. What I want to see is I want to see the Rek'Sai hitting these solo lanes instead of camping bottom. I guess the question is should Rek'Sai try to force the vertical? And the answer is probably. You have ryze and kennen, both have priority. Vertical is definitely forcible. If you go for this vertical, it's more for the lanes rather than your jungle matchup, which is perfectly fine. They know they have a deep ward here because they caught him on the other ward. So because of that, yeah, I would like to see red golems scuttle, or not scuttle, but walk up, check. If this is up, you take, scuttle into mid, or gromp into top, into scuttle, something to that effect. So far so good. I like the path. This gank doesn't really ever work, but I guess he figured he would try for it. No, dude. Whatever. If he knows this ward is this deep, I don't know why he would do wraiths. This lane is definitely Trist favored. Sona is not really the strongest, and you can't really push. Okay, the Rek'Sai's finally walking in here. Ends up being 2 for 1 for TL. That shouldn't really happen. The kennen should already have roaming over while this was being started. But more importantly, it just shouldn't have been a fight here. They should have just split map. Which would have been, like, it would have worked a lot better had he just ran into his top side without going for wraiths. So ryze getting bullied off quite a bit from the Hecarim. Again, we see Rek'Sai not really being utilized all too much. I was going to say he probably will look for this because he knows the shroud's down. They actually pick it up. That's insanely good. Collier really shouldn't have been up that far. TL return ganking. Spend the TP. This is going to be pretty disastrous. Both teams should have known. I blame, not blame, but I give more reason for why this bot lane roam would work. Wow. Phong Vu just making it work here. Yeah, really just making it work here. Impact's getting a ton of solo gold though, so this lane. The TP gives top priority. It ended up working out kind of. But the problem is that you need to win your splits. Maybe they just assume they can never win the splits, but it's very hard to win another way as well. You see Sona pulling the wave so it pushes out. So that's pretty good. The ryze getting a kill is really good. So now we see where the pull comes into play. Again, top not getting very much attention. I don't really like that. I'm glad they did a gank mid though, early on. Now they come top for this gank. Decide it doesn't gonna work. And they get an ocean for the top gank. Which is fine. You kind of want ocean in split push comps because it just allows more room. You also want you also have 3 champions that really benefit from motion drag. You're gonna see Impact take a really early tower here. This is kind of hard now because when this I don't expect Impact to swap here. I expect him to keep shoving. And the Kennen's really far behind here. I would like to see the Hecarim start to hover the Sylas here. You hover into this side of the jungle. If he gets ganked, you can win the 2v2. I mean, he's going to reset for sure. But after he resets, he should come, hover, and then if the ryze pushes up too much, then you can just come around and gank from this angle. And the thing that does is it forces the ryze to play back, otherwise he disrespects. It allows this lane to push up, which is really good. And your bot lane is scaling anyways, you don't really need to worry about them all too much. Unless you want to specifically camp bot, but I don't really think it's worth it when you win the split and you outscale. So, that being said, it does just take one perfect team fight, Phong Vu, late game, to be able to win a team fight. But it's just very hard into Derek Akali, Sylas. It's just going to be hard to find that perfect flank positioning. But both teams not really utilizing the Rek'Sai too well. We knew this from group play-ins, Group A. If you watched the Phong Vu games, they had no Rek'Sai priority at all. I assume it's because he can't play it very well. And we're kind of seeing that here. So we do see the hover. xmithie's going to have to give this up. mistimed it a little bit. Could have been a lot better. They pick up one. This is still possible for Phong, as you're kind of seeing. Pick up another one. So this ryze is massive at this point. Okay. At this point in the game, swap your ryze to top. Let the kennen go mid, because the kennen can't lane against this Silas, but the ryze will definitely be able to lane against him now. So it's going to be much more beneficial to send him to top lane, let him split push, let him scale up. He doesn't really need to be in the middle of the map. He needs to be more towards Herald because the drag isn't up. We are going to see after this, we are going to see the drag spawn here, or what drag it is. Depending on what drag it is, depends on what lane the ryze decides to go to. Barely misses. Mountain. Okay, here's the thing. I think if the kennen's mid, even if the ryze has all your gold, TL can't just mindlessly start this mountain drag. One, because it's the most tanky one. Two, you have ryze banging on the top lane, and you're just trying to get him levels at this point. So just let him sit top, farm up, play towards your win condition. You know this guy wins the split now against either of them. You know the Hecarim can't come top, because if he comes top, then drag gets opened up. Maybe you're a little bit concerned about bot lane. Game pushed in, so you don't have the drag priority, so he's going to die for free, but that's not really the case. He doesn't have flash, but he has TP, so even more reason for him to be sitting up here. Definitely. But I don't think they will do that, because they've shown that their macro is not really the greatest. He just tries to TP in the middle of the lane, and they give up kills for that. They were trying to save bottom, but that's a pretty big mistake to do. They're reacting too much. Even if your bottom's getting dove here, and the reason why they can get dove is because of the Sona pick, there's just no real reason to try to react to that. Because you're playing against this ryze now. You should be setting up for the ryze, because he's your win condition at this point. He's also very good into that comp, all short range champions outside of Tristana. Oh my god. And they also give the ryze shutdown gold for that play. Yeah, it's becoming a mess. They don't want a team fight. The problem is everyone's weak. Rek'Sai's weak, Kennen's weak, their bot lane is weak. So you need to let them scale up, and we can do that by splitting the map. Like splitting up the map and have them chase us around a little bit. But we just never set it up. TL, definitely more in the driver's seat now. Now this ryze can't split versus anyone because they Kali should be able to match. So now it's TL's turn to maybe think about 1-3 winning. Pretty interesting decisions there. I guess they're trying to control this dragon. This dragon's very important. Mountain dragon, Baron-centric meta. You can't just give it for free, like you could in Ocean or Cloud. It looks like they may. This guy's dead. Maybe not. That's really good. Trade kill's good for Phong at this point. They're deciding to give up the drag though. So they're not setting up their split push, and they're not like defending their drag. So it becomes kind of hard to win at this point. The macro just not really being there. He finally comes up to top, but it's so late. We'll see if he stays in this lane. The Akali could definitely kill him now. Especially until he gets, like, especially before he gets Morello. We see the Rek'Sai hover, so he can reset it, which is good. I don't like that they're going for this play. I mean, the only thing that's arguable is, hey, we have nothing else to do, so let's try to make a play on top, but it's just not great. I don't know how valuable the lethality virus is, but because your wave clear is so low, you could have just built lethality virus to clear waves, enable your split pushers to try to win the game for you. But maybe you don't want to split when maybe you don't want to split when you get outscaled. It's not really outscaled because their champs scale very well. It's just like a natural like teamfight counters on TL. They just have like better team fighters. I'm really surprised they don't ban the Hecarim when you're running Taric, because it is one of the better Taric users. Hecarim usually building very squishy. One of the only junglers that pretty much has to build Triforce. So you're usually just way behind in pacing when you pick Hecarim. That's why it's kind of, if you don't snowball, you lose. And if you don't, like, if you get focused out in team fights, you lose. But Taric kind of negates some of that. Taric makes it so you don't have to really build tank stats, and you do a ton of damage, and you can't get focused out. When normally the way you play against Hecarim is just to focus him out, because he can't really do anything, and he's super squishy, and he has to invest like 3,600 gold into Triforce, which is it's a big setback on tank items, and then even then you don't really want to build tank items. This Kennen's really, really weak. He can't split against either lanes, so the game's pretty rough. He naturally loses to both. Not naturally, but when you're behind like this, you're going to lose to both. We're going to see the Taric ult. Pretty good flank here by the Kennen. TL should kind of know that they want to fight when the Kennen hits 11. So kind of a misjudgment there. They don't even have to go for that play either. They have a lot. I'm sure they have a lot of gold in pocket as well. They can't do this Baron. It's possible, but they don't have a tank, so it's hard because they're going to get super low. Yeah, they're peeling off of it now. This ryze might die. Yeah, I didn't think they could do that one. Maybe if they had the mountain, that would have been doable. But now it just looks like they're going to give Baron the TL. That's just like not knowing. That's kind of desperation, it looks like. Because they feel like, hey, we get outscaled. We lose the 1-3-1. We can't really team fight into this team. So, good Sun ult. Saved that fight for sure. Good reaction by double lift to ult the cannon away. Then this is just overgreed. They should have just got mid tower, set up drag. I don't know what drag this is. We'll see. It's Ocean. Ocean's good for your team though. It's not like Ocean's completely useless in this game. I mean, you prioritize so many of the other Oceans that you should have priority on this one as well. This game is pretty much, you can't win if you're Phong Blue Buffalo now. Very Baron-centric meta. You have the double split pushers, which they're not even using. And maybe they're not using it because they don't have the best disengage, so they're using Silas to be there so they don't get all in. It's definitely viable. Now they do it, which is, I mean, it's kind of weird that they play the macro like this, honestly. Or they just do things, for lack of a better word, late. There's a mistake we commonly see where waves are stagger bouncing. So Jensen didn't have to push this wave up here. He could have kept it here and then let the minions kill it, so push it slower. So the mid wave meets it when they meet it here. Top, yeah, it's like okay to have it split top, but you want the more members and your AD carry to be hitting the tower at the same time as Jensen would. So, kind of a misplay there. It ends up kind of working out because Baron minions are hard to kill. But you can kind of see, like, oh, his wave is coming in, like, kind of late. This one too. At least these two are bouncing at the same time. So they have that going for them. You can kind of see them getting chip damage because of it. Kind of a late Taric ult, but it works out, it's fine. Jensen shouldn't have roamed, should have just been on that top tower. Very reactive play most of the time here. There's no way for them to really engage, so you don't really have to split off like this, especially when this tower is so low. I think he gets the tower there. Once he gets that tower, they can just group top, like 5 top for inhib, get the inhib, and then go 5 bottom. There's no way that Phong can like do the Baron as their bottom, because they just will lose the game. Like, they'll just lose the base race and lose the game. Even if they get the Baron, they're just going to have to be sitting mid with it. And it's not like they can't split in the side waves as well. So, something worth noting. They got it started though. Yep, hold the waves here. See? That's what I mean. Why shove this wave? There's no reason to. Let your mid shove. You see the kennen, you don't need to shove it. So just let these 2 waves crash at the same time instead of just hard shoving this wave here. This is really ambitious and it's unnecessary. Even without vision of where people are, it's very ambitious. Even if you had the vision, it's still ambitious. Like, they don't need to do this. They don't need to go for plays like that. They could just be happily splitting until Silas 16, Kali 16, and then you can group if you want to. Okay, at least these 2 waves are crashing. They should get mid off this. Again, like, reactive play. Like, just sit mid here. You don't need to react to this. If they die, they die. Like, you're not going to help either way, essentially. It's also hard for them to actually engage there. But NA tends to like to do that, be reactive with what they want to do, instead of being more proactive. Which is why they're not... Like, NA is not a very good region. They're trying to sneak Baron here. I guess maybe they think they have to close the game with Baron. I'm not sure why, though. I guess they want to turn. So... I mean, it works out. They're just so far ahead, though. Comp-wise and, like, actual individual strength-wise. So this should be endgame. Oh, yeah, I mean... TL just seems to react a lot. Even though they have, like, strong individual players. I don't like how xmithie played this whole set. I think he played fairly poor. I think Team Liquid has a crutch on their bottom lane. I think maybe Double Lift and Core JJ are asking for a lot of pressure bottom, which they shouldn't have. Because this game was split push focus, and if Phong doesn't throw this game out the window, it's very hard for TL. Like, if they just would have put the ryze top and the kennen mid when I suggested it, I think this game goes a lot differently. Because they eventually realize, like, hey, we want to be in the 1-3-1, and they try it, and they're like, wait, we lose both side lanes. When no one could have stepped up to the ryze at that point. And you want him to scale. If he hits 16, this game's over. With a reasonable lead. Yeah, I don't know. From play-ins, not very, what's the word? Not very impressed by any of the macro from any team. Fibonacci actually had the best macro. They actually had an idea of what they were doing, they just weren't good enough at execution. But these games, it's just like, the execution isn't even something to blunder, it's just purely, people running around, and TL just went off mechanical plays. If I had to guess, I wouldn't expect TL to go very far in this tournament. Just based on this game, but I haven't seen the other teams too much. At the start of this year, a lot of teams were playing this monkey style. And in 2018, that was probably the worst Worlds I've ever witnessed. I've been playing this game for 8 or 9 years. I think that was some of the worst League of Legends I've seen. Outside of like wildcard regions and NA. Anyways, that's it for this review. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Any comments for feedback? I know I'm pretty new to this. I'll get better. I have some stuff I'm working on, like speech and other things like that. Just trying to study as much as possible. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time.